Welcome into the Shred Coin stream. Today, I'm going to teach you about the high carb diet. So, if you want to learn about eating carbs and still getting shredded, this is the stream for you because we're going to dive in. I'm going to share the strategies that I have implemented to get down to 5% body fat and still eat a ton of carbs every day. Not cutting carbs, not cutting down those tasty foods and still getting shredded. That is really a dream for most people, because I know a lot of people go on these like starvation diets. They cut carbs, they lose strength, they lose muscle, they lose their head, and that's not life. That's not living. I've been there, I've done that, and I needed to find another way. I needed to find a way of getting shredded, but without sacrificing the foods I enjoyed and without burning myself out. So if you're new here to the stream, I'm Lee. We are streaming on Shred Coin Monday, Friday at around this time, for 30 days. So this week and then next week from like November time because of the daily commitment. It is quite challenging, but also I want to plan some answering your questions and sharing Fitness Alpha, the things that have given me 20 years of joining and spending your time here with me. So there's ways to support. Follow at Shredcoin on your favorite platform. Join these live streams, engage, comment, repost, retweet, all that good stuff. It all helps spread the word. And if you've come through Twitter, through X, and you've come through one of our ads, welcome on board as well. I hope you find this content helpful, insightful, and I hope you take something away that you can get results with, because there's nothing worse than spending time on streams of people just talking a bunch of crap and not actually delivering anything of value, anything that can actually change your life. And my mission when I leave these streams is that I've given you something, at least one thing that you can implement into your life, into your daily routine. It's going to have a positive impact on your health, on your fitness, on your body, and the results that you get. So that's my promise to you. That's what you will get when you show up to my streams. And I hope if you do show up to these streams, you take action, because it really isn't about just watching and listening. It's about going and doing the work that will get you the results. And so just keep that in mind. Anytime you consume content online, the application and the implementation is more important than the information. So take action on anything I share with you here today. So today we're diving in and talking about the high carb diet. Carbohydrates have typically, when it comes to losing fat and getting lean, typically people think you need to cut out carbs or starve yourself of tasty foods in order to get shredded. This is completely far from the truth, because as a natural lift person who doesn't have performance enhancing drugs and other substances to support muscle tissue, carbohydrates are one of the primary fuel sources that your body needs in order to maintain muscle. Muscles store glycogen. Carbohydrates break down into sugars, which store as glycogen in muscle. So if you are cutting out your carbohydrates foods, you're essentially cutting out your supply of energy, the muscle's supply of energy. And so when you go and try and lift weights, it's going to be harder because your body has not got the preferred fuel source, which is carbohydrates. And then it will start trying to metabolize and utilize proteins and fats, which aren't as efficient fuel sources for building muscle. And so carbs are a fundamental part of your training, of your energy sources, and they fuel your brain as well. If you ever get brain fog, or you feel cloudy, or you're not thinking clearly, it could be down to how much carbs you're eating. You could just be like not consuming carbs for your body for the type of training you're doing. And so what I discovered back in 2014 or 2013, when I did one of my first natural bodybuilding competitions, I went on a sort of ketogenesis diet, and I cut out carbs. I was having broccoli as my carb sources, but then I was having a lot of fat and a very, very high protein diet. And on that prep, I looked like a stick at the end. I got completely shredded. I was being very dry, but I was very, very flat. My muscles looked small, deflated. And I felt like crap. I had no level of concentration. I was hungry all the time. I was craving food like crazy. And it took me many years to rebuild the muscle that I had burned off during that season. And so I had to learn another way. I realized that it's not sustainable, it's not healthy. And I discovered that you can still get shredded on a high carb diet. And so what I would do is I would progressively increase my carbohydrate intake in an off season so that my body was becoming efficient, becoming uh, effective at utilizing carbohydrates. So I was building my insulin sensitivity. And so I'd build up my carbohydrate rate up to about 500 grams a day. And feeling I was training well, I was pushing heavy weights, recovering well, I was sleeping well, everything was great. And so as I went into my next diet, my next competition prep, I was cutting on 400 grams of carbs, getting shredded at my lowest around 300 grams of carbs a day, and still down to 5% body fat, absolutely shredded. And it was one of my best preps, it was one of my best cutting experiences because I was still strong. I was still able to function. I still had energy. My muscle looked good, looked full. And it was just the best time because I was eating food that I enjoyed. I wasn't starving myself. I wasn't depleting myself of those tasty foods. And so I learned that carbs are such a key part of muscle retention, muscular strength, and just keeping the diet sustainable for long periods of time without burning out. And as a natural lifter, somebody who doesn't take performance enhancers or any of those kind of things, you want to preserve muscle as your primary focus. Whenever you're trying to get shredded, the goal isn't to get shredded and lose fat. The goal is to first and foremost preserve as much muscle tissue as possible so that when you diet, you actually look muscular, you actually have muscle, and you have a nice physique. You don't just want to be thin and shredded, right? So if that's the look you're trying to achieve, carbs are your preferred source to achieve that. And the way I like to look at intake is how much carbs should you be having. If around 1 gram of protein per pound is the minimal ideal protein take, so let's say you weigh 180 pounds, you have 180 grams of protein a day, around 50% of your calorie intake, the rest of them should be carbs, and around 20 to 25% from fat. And then if you're really trying to push getting leaner, I think around 15% on the very low end for a very short period of time percent. But if around 50% of your calories are coming from carbs, that's a good chunk of your nutrition, right? A good amount of food that is being used for energy that your body is utilizing to lift, to function, to survive. And so that's my ideal ratio and percentages that I work with. And I find that a higher carb diet, for the most part, for most people, is very effective for longevity, for being able to sustain a diet for a long period of time and still be able to function and show up everywhere else in life as well. So, big recommendation from me is to not demonize carbs, not be scared to eat carbs. Certainly don't think that um, they're going to make you fat if you're trying to get shredded. And certainly don't subscribe to the idea that you need to go on a low carb diet to get shredded as if it's the only way. I've got myself down to 5% body fat, eating no less than 300 grams of carbs a day, 320 even a day. And I still eat that now on my prep for the World Championships. And it's allowed me to diet for almost 6 months, or over 6 months now, and still function at a high level, train at a high level, be able to show up daily, function well, feel good, sleep well, and just work very efficiently. So I can't recommend enough building your carbohydrate tolerance, your insulin sensitivity. You can't do this overnight. To achieve that, you have to obviously build up your carbohydrate tolerance. And you do that over weeks. You slowly start incorporating more carb to your diet, 10 grams a week, 20 grams a week, over weeks and months. So this isn't going to be a phase when you're cutting. This is a phase when you're reestablishing your metabolism. You're rebuilding your metabolic rate. You're not trying to get shredded in. You're just trying to slowly build your metabolism up, build up your calorie intake. And you do this for a week and months. And if you grab 10 grams of carbs a week for 40 weeks, right? It's 400 grams of carbs. That's a lot of carbs. And, there will be a point where diminishing returns where if you just keep eating, you're going to get fat. But you need to find that point that your body feels good, that, when too much is going in. And once you find that point, you kind of keep it there. You allow your body to adjust to this new carbohydrate intake, this new paradigm. And then once it comes time to shred, to actually burn back, start getting leaner, you start to slowly cut your carbohydrate intake. The same way it went up, the same way it comes down, slow and steady. And that's what I did. I started at around 400 grams of carbs on my current prep, down to like 320 a day. And that was over the course of like 5 months. Like my fat intake came down as well. But you need to do it slowly. And if you do it slowly, maintain that high carbohydrate intake and still get shredded and still train hard and still feel good and still function well. So if you have a whole host of benefits, and the top natural bodybuilders in the world champions, people that I personally know, they all are advocates of a higher carb diet for the natural lifter. So go ahead, start exploring, start eating carbs, stop being scared of them. And it can take some time if you have been scared of them. Your insulin sensitivity could be down. So if you carbs, it can spike your insulin. You can gain weight quite easily, but you have to slowly build up your intake, your tolerance again, if you want to enjoy the benefits of having a higher carbohydrate diet. And you need to lift as well. You need to lift weights. You need to push yourself. It needs to be, if you want to utilize your carbs, you can't just eat those carbs and expect to get leaner. You obviously have to utilize them. That's the benefit of having a higher carb diet, is that you can train harder, you can lift, and you can recover faster. So go ahead, start incorporating the high carb diet. It is the secret to getting shredded and sustaining a shredded physique whilst also feeling great and enjoying delicious foods. If you like eating cereal, if you like popcorn, if you like candy, if you like sweets every now and then, if you're like me and you like these things and you don't want to cut them out completely because you'll become miserable and unhappy, this is the way to do it. By giving the majority of your calories to carbohydrates, lowering your protein a little bit just because you don't need as much as you've probably been told you need, and lowering your fat intake just to the essential amount, right? And eating those good healthy fats. But carbs are going to do most of the heavy lifting for you, literally. So get them in and slowly build your tolerance over weeks and months. And when it comes time to shred and you want to get absolutely shredded, get down to the 5% body fat and like see your veins popping out your arms, slowly cut them down. Don't cut them out all at once. Don't try and go on a low carb diet. Don't half you're taking. Just slowly chip away, day after day, week after week, month after month. And you'll look back just 50 kilos. And I'm not even really fat off eating that low carbohydrate diet. But I did the work by increasing my intake, by building my metabolism, my insulin sensitivity. I did all these things so that I can enjoy the benefits now, 6 months later. That's my message today. Go and enjoy your carbs. You can absolutely eat it too. You just have to know how to do it and be patient. So if you have any questions around this, if you want to get shredded whilst loving carb and enjoying life, go ahead and comment or ask any questions. I'm really happy to support anybody who is on their journey, trying to get into the best shape of their life. I've done it myself. I won championship title. I'm a pro natural bodybuilder, and I'm here to share my experiences, my knowledge with you all. And if you want to join Shredcoin and be a part of the community, you can come and do that too. You're very welcome. We're building the first fitness culture coin here, and I would love to have more people on board. Yeah, and I would love to have more people on board. If you are down to be part of this community, just follow, share, tell your friends, tag your friends, and we're just starting this movement here. So stick around. There's more time, and I'll be back on day for a new stream for the week. And in the meantime, just follow along on our Twitter account X at Shredcoin, sharing clips from these lives, sharing some of the nuggets of wisdom that hopefully you implement. You go and take an action. This is one of those pieces of advice that will take a little bit longer. It's not a tomorrow thing. It's a long time thing. But if you take one thing away from this stream, it's don't be scared of carbs. Eat carbs. They are your friend. They taste good. They will help you train harder, sleep better, function better, and sustain a diet far longer than a lower carb counterpart. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you next week. Peace.